Many people around our community used to giving gifts and presents on Chanuka. And the obvious question that everybody asks when they give gifts, those that ask, is that maybe it's sourced in a Goisha, from the Goisha world, since now is a time of holidays for also the Goyim. And it's known that the symbol of the holiday is to give gifts. So maybe this that we give gifts as well and presents to our children is sourced in the same way, it comes from the same place, and it should be avoided. So this is something that is not written anywhere in the Sfarim. I looked and I researched, and I tried to see if anybody speaks about this, and I didn't find, unfortunately. The only thing is I found such a thing that they ask the Rav Chaim Kanievsky, I think it's Shelat Rav, and he says that Lo Shamati, I didn't hear such a thing, which means I think he tried to avoid the question. And we'll try a little bit to understand what's the problem that could be here, and is it really a Isur? So, if one wants to know if it's Asur Mishum, the Isur of going in the ways of the Goyim, as the Shulchan Aruch brings down in Siman, Kufa and Chet, En Olchim Bechukot Avdei Kochavim, Velo Medamin Lahem. You're not allowed to be similar to them in any way, not to dress like them, not to have the same hairstyle, and not even to build buildings the same way, which means, obviously, it has to have some guidelines because we all dress pretty much the same when we have the same houses. What does that mean? So the Rama brings the famous Marik that gives it an understanding. It says like this: יהיה מובדל מהם במלבושיו ושאר מעשיו, כל זה אינו אסור אלא בדבר שנהגו בו עובדי כוכבים לשם פריצות. כגון שנהגו ללבוש מלבושים אדומים, והוא מלבוש שרים וכדומה לזה ממלבושי הפריצות. Which means there's two definitions to this isur of not following בחוקות הגויים לא תלכו. What are they? One is not to do anything that has to do with pritzut. So if a person wears red dress, red clothing, or any kind of dress of pritzut, clothing of pritzut, if one wants to know where's the isur in the Torah to wear such clothing, there's two places. Over here, it says in the halacha that the isur is bechukotem lo telechu. That's part of that. Isur is to walk in a way that's not tzanua. Somewhere that you do something that that you want people to see you, and it's overdoing things. That's the definition of being not tzanua. Tzanua means you dress like everybody else. You don't overdress in a way that you're going to be exposed and people are going to look at you. Obviously, it goes in also with wearing things that expose the body, or they're too short, or they're too tight, and so on. So this is the Isur of Pritzut that goes under that as well. Secondly, is when you do something that חוק, דבר שנהגו למנהג וחוק ואין טעם בדבר. דאיקה למחש בהם משום דרכי אמורי, ושיש בו שמץ עבודת כוכבים מאבותיהם. Which means if you do something without a reason, you can't understand what's the reason they do such a thing. If there is a reason, like for instance before he explains, if a doctor dressed in a white robe, so there's a reason for it. So when you're in the hospital, people understand that you're the doctor, you're the one taking care of the patients, or it's for sterility or whatever it is. But there's a reason behind it. But when you do something that you can't understand what the reason is, or you can even understand that it's sourced in somewhere of Avodah Zarah, like for instance putting a tree by the house, so such a thing should be avoided. Why? Either you don't understand the reason, or you understand that there's a reason behind it. In this tree, they try to understand and to define that just like the tree is so fresh, so does their Avodah Zarah is fresh and young and still good to go. So such a thing would be asur. Says the Ma'arik, and the Rama brings it down again in Kufa and Chet, אבל דבר שנהגו לתועלת, כגון שדרכם להיות משהו רופא מומחה, יש לו מלבוש מיוחד שנקרא בו שהוא רופא, מותר ללובשו, וכן שעושים משום כבוד או טעם אחר מותר. Whenever you have something that you're doing and it has a reason, it's not אסור משום בחוקותיהם לא תלכו. Over here as well, when you give gifts on the holiday of Chanuka, obviously there's a reason. You're trying to make the kids happy. Obviously, such a thing would not fall under the Isur of Vechukotem Lo Telechu. Also, you have the minhag that's already sourced to give ma'ot Chanukah. You give gelt. You give Chanukah gelt. You give money. What's the reason for that? It says in the Mefarshim, and this is already sourced in the Chatan Sofer. Stipler used to give also to his children and grandchildren. Why is that? To give them a little bit simchat chag, so they had to be encouraged on the chag. So maybe also gifts should be the same way. So although there's no isur in giving gifts, because gifts have a reason, it has a time, you're trying to make the kids happy on Chanukah. But still, we don't have a source for it. We don't have any place. When Rav Shlomo Zalman was asked about giving gifts, a husband should give gifts to his wife on her holiday, was also, he doesn't have a source to that in a Jewish play. Even if you want to say that that on the birthday, making a birthday, which is a big machloket that we need to speak at a different time, but giving gifts on a birthday, there's no source for it anyway. But we do see that many, if you take a look in the Teg Gabriel, it brings many from the Hasidim that used to give gifts on a birthday. When they ask Rav Shlomo Zalman in Ma'adenei Shlomo, he brings down that Rav Shlomo Zalman says that in Eretz Yisrael, in אנשי ירושלים, לא נהגו לתת מתנות יום הולדת, אבל אם אצל אנשי חוץ לארץ, if in outside Eretz Yisrael they give gifts, fine, so let them give gifts. That's fine. Why? With that you show love to your wife. Maybe here is the same thing. That you could give those gifts, that's fine. You're not violating anything. But is it correct? Does it sense good? Does it smell good? I'm not so sure. Each person should really ask his rabbi, ask his moreh derech, ask the hashkafa. It's a question in hashkafa, not in halacha. You're not violating any halacha when you give gifts on the holiday, just like you're not violating any halacha giving gifts on the birthday. But is that something that's Jewish? In other words, you come into the area of hashkafa, that each person should ask his moreh horah to see if one should or one shouldn't.